What if the Republic executed Ashoka Tano? And the way this could happen is during the trial, Ahsoka is found guilty, and before Anakin brings Barriss over to prove Ahsoka's innocence, the Republic executes her, so Anakin brings in Barriss a little bit too late, and that's how it could happen. Or maybe Barriss never gets caught, and Ahsoka just gets executed. Because I assume that since Ahsoka was going to be found guilty, that they would have executed her. I mean, I think that's the only alternative. And in the case of Barriss Offee, I think they probably did execute her. I think that's why we don't see her again, even though Dave Filoni wanted a new story arc for her as well. I think that most likely we should just assume that Barriss was executed in the original timeline. But in this scenario, what if Ahsoka was executed by the Republic? And we'll touch in the scenario where Barriss is caught, but Ahsoka is executed anyway. We'll say Ahsoka Tano is found guilty, incorrectly found guilty, obviously, and Ahsoka Tano is executed by the Republic. And Anakin brings in Barriss Offee, and Anakin is just furious. And Barriss Offee feels really guilty, so she immediately confesses to her crimes, and the Republic and the Jedi are like, oh damn, we shouldn't have executed Ahsoka Tano, but she's dead, so what are we gonna do now? And then, what would happen is Anakin would probably be very angry, and he would be furious, and his trust in the Jedi and Republic, which was already at an all-time low, would stoop even lower, and he would be more angry and more furious throughout the entire Clone Wars, and his turn into Darth Vader would be far more severe, and he would just be a much more angrier, severe person. And I don't think that he would immediately turn to the dark side, or that Darth Sidious would allow that to immediately happen, because Darth Sidious still needs to do a lot of other things before turning Anakin to the dark side. Darth Sidious still has many other logistical plans to get through before he gets to his ultimate grand plan. So I think in a scenario where Ahsoka is executed and Barriss Offee is caught, I think in that scenario, it only makes Anakin more angry. Now, in the scenario where Barriss Offee is not caught and Ahsoka is executed, well, in that case, Barriss Offee would probably feel maybe Barriss Offee has enough of a conscience to where she'll just come forward and admit it and take responsibility. Or maybe Barriss Offee, even though she might have a tiny sliver of a conscience, she might just not do anything, and she might decide that she will do more bombings, get away with more. So Barriss Offee will probably bomb the Jedi Temple again. And maybe she'll hatch an elaborate plot where she'll frame other Jedi. Maybe she'll try framing a Jedi Master on the Jedi Council. And although I'm not really sure that would work, because the Jedi Council, they probably trust their own members, so that probably wouldn't work. So maybe Barriss Offee would try to frame Luminara Unduli, or maybe she would just kill Luminara Unduli outright. And then maybe she would frame this Hila Secura, and then go from there. And eventually Jedi Council would figure out that the bombings were not Ahsoka's fault, and that they were Barriss Offee's fault, and therefore they would eventually catch Barriss Offee, but not before she has done an incredible amount of damage. Now, in terms of Ahsoka Tano, obviously she would not be in Star Wars Rebels, she would not be in The Mandalorian, so how would that play out? Well, for one, I think the Inquisitors might have just killed Kanan Jarrus and Ezra Bridger sooner. Or for another, maybe Darth Maul would have killed Kanan Jarrus. Or for another, so life would have been harder for the Star Wars Rebels people. And also in The Mandalorian, if Ahsoka were not in The Mandalorian, well, maybe, if Ahsoka were not alive, then the Siege of Mandalore probably would not have happened. So yeah, let's backtrack a little bit. If Ahsoka had been dead, if Ahsoka was executed by the Republic, then the Siege of Mandalore would not happen later. And mainly what happens is that Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker just go back to Coruscant to rescue Palpatine, and Bo-Katan is on her own. Perhaps, Obi-Wan Kenobi would give some clone troopers to Bo-Katan, and so that they could go help her, but I don't think they would allow that. I don't think the Republic would allow that. So what will most likely happen is Darth Maul would just pack his stuff, and maybe he would take some Mandalorians, or maybe he would just leave them all, and maybe he would just escape and do his criminal empire. So wouldn't change much there. Star Wars Rebels, as I said, they could be in big trouble if Ahsoka is dead, and in the Mandalorian, Ahsoka not being in the picture, that would probably alter a few things as well. But if Ahsoka were to die in the Clone Wars, which I think is what should have happened, which is what George Lucas wanted, but Dave Filoni disagreed, so they had different ideas there, so Ahsoka ended up living. But if she had died in the Clone Wars, it would have made Anakin more angrier, but it would not have changed the plot in terms of great detail.